Good evening, respected chair, co-chair, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. In this presentation, I will be basically talking about an impending crisis that is going to face the small South Indian state of Kerala, where I belong to, after we have seen very recently a food security crisis affecting this one of the most literate state in the country. And it is by coincidence that this session is chaired by Dr. S.C. Joshi, who is also hailing from the State Forest Department of Kerala, and he knows the situation better than anyone else sitting here. It's a small state, as I mentioned. It's located 8 degree to 12 degree in the northern latitude and about 74 to 77 degree in the eastern longitude. As you can see from the picture, the diverse topographic features has resulted in a very marked variation in the climate, which again represented itself in the diverse vegetation that we have. Although now the forest, as you can look at that picture, the satellite true color composite represents the forests have shifted to the higher elevations represented by the western Ghats that runs through the state. We have all kinds of vegetations in this green state of Kerala. We have the mangroves very close to the coastal lines. We even have very rare freshwater swamps in the state. Higher up as we travel in the Midlands, you'll see the moist deciduous forests, and when the conditions are a little bit dry, we find the dry deciduous forests. And in mountains and the valleys, we find the sholas and grassland vegetation, and higher up in the hills, we find the evergreens and semi-evergreens. So much said, we are a very green state. We have close to about 30% covered on the forest area. If you look at the forest cover as such, which is coming to close to about 11,000 square kilometers. And interestingly, there is an overestimation here because we have a very important monocrop throughout the state, as rubber, and sometimes interpretations, the overestimation interpretation can be a result of the rubber as well as other plantation, non-forest plantation crops as well. But in the recorded forest area, which is as per the forest department records, which has been lying interestingly very static for a few years, is the forest that they have as per the records that they have based on land surveys, where even the area can be called as a forest even if there is no single blade of grass in it. So it's very interesting, but still we have quite a good amount of forest, and we are often quoted as a wood surplus state. I'm coming to the irony about it. We can, split up this total area as per, as I said, as per the Champion States classification into different types. Very good. We have the legal classification also, and very unique to Kerala, the vested forest. Basically meaning the private forest vested from the forest vested from the private people. So we have the split up here. And as said, maybe one of the greenest states, and looking from above, you probably would have seen this God's own country, the paradise, a must-see nation in the world, or must-see place in the world. But interestingly, our forests, however diverse as per the figures I have seen, supplies only 9%, and this is a figure that we have surveyed in 2000 and published latest in 2005. And this could have gone down because as we look at the auctions conducted in the government depots, this would have gone down. Interestingly, the major share is from the estates, mainly the rubber estates and the homesteads, the home gardens, typical home gardens of Kerala. They supply the largest amount, and the rest is from imports. And the figure at that time shows about close to about the balance, say about 20% or so is from the imports, which we don't know as of now what the picture is. But as I am a scientist in the wood science area, I see when I visit the markets of the state that I see timbers of every different kind, a new kind every time I visit a depot. And they say the timber is mainly from Southeast Asia, and Burma is in fact a country which has been regularly supplying the timber. But now we see a lot of goods coming from Africa. Some of them come to me for identification as to what the species, and the previous speakers were mentioning about Sapil, Iroko, etc., etc., and I know what the species you're talking about. And it is popularly called as Malaysian wood, even if it is from Myanmar, sourced from Myanmar or Burma, and now the African wood. But we are seeing a boom in the consumption associated with the urbanization, because the entire state of Kerala is like a city, as we can say. It's completely getting urbanized, and we need timber more and more. That's no doubt about it. The timber sold by the forest department is mainly through auctions, and the average price of the most popular timber for house construction, being teak, ranges from about 2,500 per cubic feet. That can be for the 3C class, and it can go up to 4,000 and even higher for the second class, not to talk about export quality teak. But I surveyed markets, timber markets, and I find that you can get teak starting from 600 per cubic feet up to about 4,000 that we have for the timbers bought from auctions. So there's a wide variety of prices, and one is confounded as what teak are you talking about? So I'm coming to that point also very briefly in a short while. And it's been about 20 years since we have seen the Malaysian wood being shipped in, and the chief entry points in the state as well as the whole of South is from Tuticorin in Tamil Nadu, and Mangalore in Karnataka, and again Chennai in Tamil Nadu. It's arriving even from South America, and even from some small island nations in the Pacific like the Solomon Islands, even from Laos, Vietnam, and everywhere. And we as a whole nation is predicted to be the second largest consumer of tropical woods, next only to Japan in a few years from now. So we are standing in fact on a very poised for a big growth as far as imports is concerned. We are a net importer already. The state already is. It doesn't even export teak, because there was a question in the planning board meeting, as you are from Kerala and teak is your species, and why do you buy teak from abroad? A lot of teak is coming to you. What's the reason? The simple reason, as you all know, is our demand is far exceeding the supplies, and we do not export teak or any, for that matter, any timber in the round form. And construction, for house construction, it is mainly the pink cardo, which is nothing but the irul or the Xylea xylocarpa, shipped in mainly from the controversial region in Myanmar, or the country called as Myanmar. And the timber market is a seller's market, and wood is scarce and demand is high. And if you look at a simple screenshot of a lesser used, a manual called Lesser Used Timbers of Kerala, you can see the bewildering array of timbers. You can see violet colored timbers, you can see dark, black, everything. You have substitute for all timbers that is now available, and one is led into difficulty in assessing the price, the quality, and this leads to a lot of problem in the market. Talking about teak, there was a recent conference in KFRI. It's called as TeakNet, and Dr. Jairam will be addressing you about TeakNet activities later on. We have seen timber traders from Ghana, Ivory Coast, mainly from the African region, also from the Asian countries like Malaysia, Burma, where especially Burma is a natural, it's a place of natural origin of teak. But we are also seeing, interestingly, teak coming in from South America, like countries like Costa Rica, Colombia, Ecuador, etc. And talking about Kerala itself, we get different quality in different sites. It's a dry site, good color, and it's a wet site, the color is quite inferior, because teak is priced mainly based on color also. The color adds value to it, apart from the apparent natural durability also is increased if you have a darker colored teak. We are looking for elsewhere for supplies. Even today our focus slightly shifted to bamboo. Now we can also shift our focus to coconut, although it's not truly technically wood, because it's not a product of secondary growth. But the problem here is, I have a window, I have a cot, we made it, and you can see the differences in the color, the grade, even in the same cot itself. So that would be a little bit disappointing. So there is a problem in standardization, but this is definitely a source of timber now, because we are going to see a lot of palms being removed. So palm wood is a good source. And to come to the point, there used to be thriving forest-based industries. We have seen an earlier presentation by my colleague, Dr. Kunyamu, on the using wood. And the latest casualty have been match wood. Now before that, I can just show you the figure of the timber outturn, annual outturn. It's negligible, especially from the forest, because we have stopped green felling in the state in early 80s. So whatever we have is the removal in the form of the salvage felling. And responsible sourcing and associated forest certification activities are going to put a big stop to supplies, at least if not now, later on, because we are going to see forest certification and being enforced in such countries in Africa, Southeast Asia, etc., and who are actually, we now are actually putting or setting our foot into we are setting the forest footprints into the countries elsewhere, as the West used to do. So it's going to be difficult times. We have several companies now offering forest certification here, mainly the COCs to the timber traders, the marketing companies, and FMU. Or interestingly, only one company in the whole of, or one plantation in the whole of the country have secured FMU, Forest Management Unit certification, that to a rubber plantation. But this process is on. We are shortly going to see a lot of companies getting certified, and potential here is actually we have, as I said, 76% of our supplies being sourced from plantations and homesteads which are outside the forest. So there is tremendous potential to improve the economic prospects of the farm, forest and agroforestry areas in the state. And unless you get it certified, because there are examples elsewhere. Solomon Islands, as I mentioned, is shipping teak trees from their farmlands raised by the small growers in earlier Commonwealth. Where the grasslands were there under the Commonwealth Forestry Program. Now they have raised about 10,000 hectares of teak in those lands, and what you see in 10 years or 9 years times growth is what we get in 20 years in Kerala, which is very wonderful, because it may be the effect of what is called as exotic vigor, or maybe due to some other climatic things that encourages more growth in otherwise non-teak growing country in the world. And they are bringing in teak here, and especially to Chennai, and we are not seeing any major problems with teak. But what they get due to certification, this is certified, is that they get about 40% more price in the teak timber, which is true with the Vietnamese as well as the Laotian traders who are bringing teak to the country. And once we have this kind of bewildering array of trees or supplies from all over the world, we do not know, or if someone claims that I have brought teak from Burma, which is maybe of superior quality than from Solomon Islands, do we have tools to identify the region of origin? Yes, there is, and this is one method that is called as the isotope analysis, the analysis of stable isotopes of carbon, strontium, chlorine, oxygen, etc., which is already on in GTZ project in Germany. And they are also using DNA markers for species level identification, but we do not need that now, as mentioned by the earlier speaker. We have anatomy, which is a very cheaper tool to identify the species. And the latest industry to face the casualty was the matchmaking industry in Kerala, which was very thriving in that Calicut region especially, which is using a species mainly, as you can see in the screenshot, it's called as Ailardus malabarica, which is a matched species. They came to us and asked us, where are our raw materials, and we have conducted workshops and going in for an offensive, like asking the growers, the farmers, to plant more of this species so that this industry will survive. And we have a problem in the state level, which is for us to sort out. That is, we have seen policies, agrarian as well as forestry policies, which are often contradictory and in fact prevent planting of trees. So that issue has to be sorted out. So we need to have a comprehensive farm forestry policy, because trees in farmlands are owned by none. Of course, the farmer is the owner, but it's not owned by the forest department, it's not owned by the agriculture department. No, there should be a lead department to guide them all. We have suggested a new department, in fact, farm forestry department. And we should have a very comprehensive policy for farm forestry, unless or otherwise we will be shortly facing a wood security crisis in the whole of Kerala. Thank you very much.